Hi, I'm Jamie with The Savings Secret, where I help you become more intentional with your money. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a free tool on Fidelity that can help you kind of look at some different index funds, compare, and really get started on your journey as you're looking to be more intentional with your money. You may have heard of different things related to index funds and expense ratios. We'll get into all of that. I'll show you a free tool. You don't even have to be a member of Fidelity to take it out, so you're not going to want to miss it. All right, so if you go to the Fidelity website, you're going to want to click on this news and research button. And again, like I said, you don't even have to have a Fidelity account. If you want to buy these funds, obviously you will. But you go into mutual funds and it'll get you started on what an index fund is. So to be clear, what a mutual fund is a basket of different stocks. And so an index fund, one of that follows a particular index. You might have heard of the S&P 500 or the total market. And so what we're going to do is we'll look into some of these. So Fidelity has a lot of different tools on here. When you're in here, we're going to click on index funds. I like to look on ones that basically don't have a minimum, so you don't need to have at least 2,500. And also let's do ones that have no transaction fees or trading fees. So we'll look at the 60 different funds that they have here on this free tool that you can look. So when you click on it, there's kind of a lot of different things that you can look at, kind of a lot to take in, but let me give you a quick rundown. So it'll give you, if it has this symbol, it really means it's owned by Fidelity. Fidelity is the company that has created this particular index fund. And if you see the symbol, it means this is a fund pick from Fidelity. It means certain requirements. And then you go to this Morningstar category. That's the category in which it falls under. The year-to-date daily of how it's performed, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, the life of the fund. With index funds, you're going to hear a lot about expense ratios. Obviously, the lower the expense ratio, the better. Long-term performance is always good. If you notice, some of them don't have 5 years or 10 years. That means the fund just simply has not been around that long. So we'll look at different funds when we go through this. So you can sort it. You might say, which one has had the best 1 year run? Ooh, the Fidelity Real Estate Index Fund. So if you're into real estate, this might be a really cool index fund to look at. You might look at the Fidelity 500 Fund, and that is based off the S&P 500. You can look at different performances here. You can sort it by their three. One I like to look at is the life of the fund. Obviously, some funds that haven't been around for a long time, they might have better performance, but it's good to look at. Expense ratio, the lower the better. So if you click on this, you can click on ones that have a low expense ratio of 0, which is nothing, can't beat 0. And so there's a couple of ones with Fidelity that they have as a 0 expense ratio. We're actually going to dive into one of my favorite index funds. I actually do buy this one on the regular, and I think it's a great index fund. I am not an investing professional, just a guy on the internet that gives advice on what I'm doing to be intentional with my money. You're welcome to take heed of the things that I say, but again, I think this is a great one to look into. So it's the Fidelity Zero Large Cap, which is very similar to the Fidelity 500 Index Fund, except for it does not have the name 500 in it, and it has 0 expense ratio opposed to 0.015. Again, both expense ratios are low. What is an expense ratio? It's basically the expense that it costs the investment company to hold it. So if you hold $10,000 worth of this index fund, they're going to charge you about $15 a year for that. So if you had $10,000, it's not a lot of fees for it. But if you own this one, it's free. So we'll go to FNILX, which if you look at it, starts with an F, which means Fidelity. And then the middle part is nil, which means 0. So if you ever play spades or games where it says that is 0, that is nil, and then it ends in X. So that's the Fidelity Zero Large Cap Index Fund. And you have a lot of different things you can look over here and compare as you kind of get into it. But one of the ones I like to click on is the View All tabs button. Basically takes all of these and puts it in a nice large one. So again, it talks about the overall rating. It's 4 out of 5. It returns are average or above average with a low expense ratio. You can essentially call this a zero expense ratio. Gives you the returns year to date, 1 year, 3 years. It does not have 5 years in the life of the fund. So if you look at this fund, it's been around since 2018, has an expense ratio of 0. It falls in the category of a large blend. It has an NAV, which you may be like, what is that? It's one of the things I like about Fidelity is it gives you all the information. If you see these dashed lines, click on it, it'll give you the information. It is the dollar value of one mutual fund's share. And so if you want to buy it right now, it's $16.02. It talks about the turnover ratio, which again, if you want to know what turnover ratios are, it's a great tool because it just hits it right there. You don't need to have multiple tabs to figure out what does this actually mean. So again, clicking on this, if you talks about who the fund manager is, it's Geo Capital Management, how long have they had it for, what is the goal? It's large cap stocks that are considered to be stocks of the largest 500 US based company on a floating adjusted market capitalization. It just basically means their total revenue. How are they looking? Are they real open here? They give different risks. It shows you the annual average return, and it gives you some other things to compare it off of. So the Fidelity Zero compared to the Fidelity Large Cap, very similar. 3 years, almost exactly the same, much bigger than Large Blend. You talk about 1 year, 3 years, life of the fund. Then it shows you a hypothetical growth. If you were to buy it right when it came into an existence, you'd be looking at, if you bought $10,000 back then, now it would be closer to $16,000. So pretty cool information. Again, if you had more, if it was around, if you're looking at a fund that was around for a longer time, it would give you more information there. Obviously, year to date in 2022, the market's taken a dip, lots of different contributing factors with that. It shows you the returns, some different things. You might hear in your research, what is it in the Morningstar category? So Morningstar is another place, a third party that rates different mutual fund stocks and things like that. They call it a large blend. And where does it rank within their category? Gives you above average. It's just kind of in the funds, right about average risk. Then you can come down here, you look at the historical performance. It shows you when the dividends were paid out, which is pretty nice. Again, the Morningstar category ratings. It gives you out of 1,200 funds in the large blend category, it's rated 4, which is very good. Out of the same amount of funds over the last 3 years, it's rated 4 stars. Lipper is another one, kind of like Morningstar. They call it a growth in income category. And out of basically 3,000 funds, it sits at about 517. So pretty good marking there. If you want to know what is in this fund, it gives you the breakout of the portfolio weight. This is the Fidelity Large Cap. How does it relate to the Fidelity Large Cap? On capitalization and style, we're talking about large companies blended. So they have growth and value. They're kind of sitting right in the middle. This is where the allocation goes. And you might say, well, what's in this 500 shares, in these stocks? Now, technically, it's 518. So there are 518. And they have Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, Google, Facebook, or Meta, Nvidia, Berkshire Hathaway, and United Health Group. And they make up 28.5% of the total portfolio. So not each 518 are given an equal portion. These 10 companies make up a large percentage of that. And again, obviously, you know what country it's in. It's the United States. You can look at the dividend payout at the beginning of December every year, about 16 cents per share. And that is basically a quick and dirty version of what this index fund is doing, how it's performed, what is the information you want to know about it. Lots of great information that's free. Again, if you wanted to go back, you could look at other ones. So you could check out not just this one. If you wanted to take this particular look at a different one. So maybe you said, hey, I want to take this one and let me compare it with this one. So you can compare two funds to the large cap and say, hey, let's compare these funds. And they give you a lot of information. Obviously, the zero fund's only been around for 3 years. You see, how's it doing? Basically the same. Well, how does it do technically to the actual index? Okay, virtually basically the same, which we would expect that on these funds. So a lot of information on this free tool that Fidelity offers. Again, really helpful information. So let me know what you think. Is this tool helpful? Are you glad? Are you interested in buying index funds? Is there index funds you have questions about? Is there a particular index fund you want me to do an analysis on that you can research on this? Again, let me know how I can help you be more intentional with your money. I've done a lot of different videos to help people take hold of their finances and find ways to just have fun and enjoy life and make it a little easier for themselves. I've done some other videos. You're welcome to check it out. Feel free to give the video a like and feel free to check out some other videos. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.